This episode of Inside the Game is brought to you by MSI Gaming. The game just got real. Head to our website at insidethegame.ca, where there you can hit up on the MSI link to get all your PC gaming needs. Now, let's get on with the show. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one-stop shop for everything cool in video games. Now we got a jam-packed show this week. Marvel Avengers is returning, they're in the news. Nate and I are checking out the return of a classic. And Scott, he's hunting some zombies. All that and a whole lot more on this week's show. But first, here's the Inside Scoop. Exciting news for those who are still playing Anthem. Anthem 2.0 might be on the way. Casey Hudson took to the Anthem blog to state a few comments that, you know what, we know we didn't deliver exactly what we wanted to, but we're redesigning the game long term. Over the last year, the team has worked hard to improve stability, performance, general quality of life while delivering 3 seasons of new content and features. We have also heard your feedback that Anthem needs a more satisfying loot experience, better long-term progression, and more fulfilling endgame. We recognize that there's still more fundamental work to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience. It will require a more substantial reinvention than an update or expansion. Over the coming months, we will focus on long-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with more meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting. And to do that properly, we'll be doing something we'd like to have done more the first time around, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. Well, there it is. We kind of have been hoping for this for a long time, myself specifically as well. I'm a huge Anthem fan, but have really fallen off just because the grind is just pointless. So with all these new changes, just when are they going to be coming? That's the biggest thing. How long are we going to wait to get these changes? Because we need them now. I want them now. I know a lot of us are looking for all these changes, and that will help bring it back the community, kind of revitalize it all as well. So things are looking good for Anthem, but it's still in the future yet.
Hey Scott! Yeah, we got some Resident Evil news! Alright, so we just found out that Resident Evil is hitting Netflix. Now this is pretty exciting because he just reviewed Resident Evil 2, that remake, and it was friggin' awesome. So I'm excited to see what we have in store on Netflix. Now we just got some tidbits of information, finding out that it takes 26 years after the virus outbreak, and we know we have the famous Red Umbrella Corporation doing their dirty work, so all this takes place in Clearfield, Maryland, just outside of DC, Washington.
THQ Nordic is still expanding. They have just announced that they are forming a new studio out of Slovakia. This one is called Nine Rock Games, and it's headed by some of the people that worked on DayZ and Soldier of Fortune 3. We're not sure yet what they're going to be working on, other than we know this will be a survival shooter of some kind. Stay tuned.
If you haven't been following, the coronavirus has actually been coming around and being a big portion and a big problem for a lot of people. And it's mostly focused right now in China, but we're starting to see it affect the video game industry as well. Because Yves Guillemot, the head of Ubisoft, has said it's affecting their studios that are trying to work and get production on their games out there, that they're being affected, actually having to close studios. Oculus Quest, they're having problems meeting demand because they're getting shut down as well. PUBG Corp, Holston and Esports over in Berlin has actually decided to foreclose their tournament right now and hold that off as well. Coronavirus hopefully will get sorted out soon, come up with a vaccine and contain it all and get everybody back to health. But unfortunately right now, it's affecting thousands and even millions around the world.
So some sad news in the world of Rockstar fans, because we found out that Dan Houser will no longer be working for them. As of March, he will be stepping down and be completely gone from Rockstar. Now his brother, Sam Houser, they started GTA basically from the beginning. They were the writers and co-writers of this fantastic franchise and all these games that they've created, so it's pretty exciting to see this. Now, Rockstar had some pretty nice things to say. We are extremely grateful for his contributions. Rockstar Games has built some of the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful game worlds, a global community of passionate fans, and an incredibly talented team which remains focused on current and future projects. So with those nice things being said, Take-Two has actually taken another hit. Their stocks actually dipped down 4%, which is at their all-time low since December 9th. So hearing this news and all this to say, that's pretty upsetting, but moving forward, I'm excited to see what Dan Houser has to say with his maybe next game.
Were you confused when you heard the news about the Xbox Series X? Well, you're not the only one. Phil Spencer sat down with Gamertag Radio to kind of give a different insight on what it means in the next series of consoles. They want to bring all the players that play under Xbox together. He iterated that they don't want to split up the ecosystem between different consoles, and instead they want to put the player at the center of the next wave of games. Think about PC and how that runs. Some people can have the greatest PC, some people can have a PC a couple years old and still get into the same games, have the same kind of experience. Well, they want to do that with Xbox. You can always play with your friends, but if you want the best scenario, then Xbox Series X is going to be the device for you.
Square Enix announced today that Marvel's Avengers Earth's Mightiest Edition and other pre-orders are now available. If you're a huge fan of the game looking forward to it, then you can jump in and get the pre-order, which will allow you to get extra skins, belts, pins, patches, all that stuff. But the coolest part is, it's a 12-inch statue of Captain America. That sounds cool. This PVC figure, I'm into that stuff. I can hardly wait to see what it looks like. Definitely want to check that out. But it also grants you access to the beta and the early access, up to 72 hours of early game time before launch on September 4th, 2020.
Drew, this time I put down the Xbox controller, and I'm full of guilt. Drew, we took a look at a Stadia exclusive. This is Guilt, and it's a cartoony, stealthy kind of mystery game.
Yeah, it's really cool. Actually, you know what? I'm really impressed. Tequila Works has really stepped up their game, because the last time we played their last game, which was Sexy Brutale, and it was a unique experience. So Tequila Works has definitely got their own style. So for them to go from one game to this game and make it exclusive, which is nice to have an exclusive on the Stadia. But let's back it up a little bit, because first of all, before we actually get into this, let's look at the fact that Stadia launched in November. It is now February, and it is now a Stadia Pro title.
Interesting that they decided to put this on the Pro. Now,
already?
I've got mixed feelings about that, because at the same time, you want to attract people to the Stadia. And
Yeah.
what better way to do that than with exclusives? You want people to pay that monthly.
Exactly.
But now it's just kind of handed to us. It's interesting. I don't know what they were going with this.
Well, exactly. And so if you just got the Stadia back in November and you purchased this title, and now you saw it already just come, wouldn't you be just a little furious?
Oh, yes.
Right? Now, let's get back into the game, because honestly, this game is awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm really impressed on how Tequila had handled this game, because I was really shocked. I wasn't expecting all that much. I was kind of expecting like a tier A, like a double A sort of title, and I feel I got a step up from that double A, but not quite the triple A experience.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a very long game, a very big
long.
experience. It's super long. And the style, from what we saw in the trailer and stuff like that, was very mysterious, kind of like a Pixar, kind of a Monsters, Inc. style of
Kind of like a Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Right?
But I jumped in, and I'm impressed with this, even though it's kind of cartoony, which is not my first choice.
No.
But
mine. I like
it
that
doesn't
style.
bother me at all. So the style of this game is really a standout, and then the gameplay follows along with that pretty well.
Yes.
You play as like this little girl in these kind of nightmarish alternate locations to what would be in the real world, seemingly. You know, you go through a school, but it's not quite right.
Yeah, it's got a lot of dark alleys and turns and these creatures in there, and you're looking for this little girl named Emily. And honestly, you see her and then she's gone, and then you see her and then she's gone again, and then you can hear her screaming in the next room. Man, this game really gets to the point where it's like, you really creeped me out a lot further than when I anticipated when I started the game. It goes from one cute level into all of a sudden this dark, twisted, like morbid sense of a game that I wasn't really expecting.
It's kind of, I think they're kind of showing us the perspective of this little girl as you're running around, because things are kind of a little cutesy, but then the scary things really go off the rails, and then there's jump scares and things that you wouldn't expect in this game just by the look of it that were really exciting for me. I'm a big horror fan, so when it actually got me, or when it was creepy enough that it, you know, they build these cool worlds, these cool creatures and stuff like that, and they all look really interesting, and it drew me in.
I loved the character design of the creatures. I thought they were flipping cool. My favorite one though is the crow, the one that disappears and then comes back again. Disappears and comes, like vanishes, but he pops over somewhere else and he walks. So it is that old like cartoony mechanic of that stealth. You kind of sit behind a bush and you wait for them to vanish or walk away, and then you creep around and go to the other side. But when you get busted, man, they come screaming right at you.
Yeah. Whew, and then there is a combat to it. It's not just a stealth game. You don't just get busted and you have to restart. It's, you have to run and panic, or maybe you can't run and you just have to fight them. You get a flashlight, and you can kind of fight back with that. You get a couple different abilities with it, but you're very limited. You want to sneak through this game, and it rewards you for doing that.
Yes.
I gave it to Emily a long time ago.
God, the way you heal yourself in this, I kind of thought was comical.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good.
So some of us in this world experience a problem called asthma. I'm one of those people. So in this game, you actually heal yourself by inhaling your puffer, which I thought was priceless. So I kind of giggled the minute I saw that, and she just inhaled her puffer, and there's her health going back. I thought that was a funny little touch. And you find this thing everywhere. So you do feel the punishment of those creatures coming at you. But at the same time, you're pretty easily to heal yourself back up.
They do add enough scattered throughout the world. I like the puffer idea because it kind of, again, I think it's showing you her perspective. She gets too scared, too worked up. These monsters are too much. The inhaler is what you need. That sets everything straight. You're okay now. And I really like that. In addition to that, they have collectibles strewn throughout the map too. So there is reward for looking around and poking through these corners. The levels are pretty advanced, although they're linear.
They are very linear.
I mean, open by advanced. They're, you know, somewhat linear. You can explore a lot of different crevices, but you have to go.
Honestly, it's point A and point B, and when there might be a little deviation over here or a little deviation over there, and that is the extent of it.
But in those deviations, sometimes you find these like people that are petrified, and you give them a collectible and bring them back to life. Yeah, so there's kind of this collectible thing, and I'm hooked for one of those. You know, if you look at my achievement list, you can see that I got to get all these little things.
Well, that was the other side of it too, though. Now Stadia's got the achievements that are popping. I'm like, cool. I'm now actually getting rewarded.
Oh no,
this is nice.
I'm hooked again.
It was good. I like Guilt a lot. I was really impressed. Well, Scott, I don't think you were that guilty playing this game. What are you scoring, Guilt?
No, it was a good time. I had a great time overall. I have to give this one a 7.5.
Yeah, you know what? I'm right there with you. Guilty pleasure for this one. 7.5 for me as well.
Guilt is cutesy but dark, stealthy but action-filled, and has a story that's worth seeing through.
So I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to gaming, I love to find out some tips and tricks just to better myself. So this week we're starting something new with our segment, Tip of the Week. So for starters, the game I'm talking about is Rainbow Six Siege, and more specifically, the attacker operator, Maverick. Now this operator, he is very unique because he is one of the very few heavy breachers that are in this game. He brings a blowtorch. Now, unlike the other guys who just blow in a massive hole, he has the option to kind of put in little peek holes where you can sneak and shoot your gun through, or better yet, one of the most fascinating things that I found out is that you can take out an entire reinforced wall from top to bottom. That's right. If you take out just a section at the top and then move your way to the bottom anywhere, it'll take out the whole wall. This brings a lot of utility.
last week we announced a cool giveaway we were doing. We were talking about Hunters Arena Legends.
Man.
And we have some winners.
We got Miss Becca Leal and Michael Murray with a handful of others.
Make sure you check your emails.
All right, Drew, we're in the Age of the Dead with this one. Let's play some PS4.
Nate, you and I checked out Dead Age on the PS4, and to be honest, this one made me feel a little dead inside.
Yeah, you a little more so than me, but this game is kind of like your mobile, dare I say, survival, turn-based RPG.
Honestly, so I was a little surprised to see this as a console experience where I feel it's more meant for the mobile platform, or maybe even on the Switch versus the PS4 and an Xbox. So the way this game is set up is you are a survivor in this apocalypse from the zombies and all that kind of stuff, but it's your typical zombie adventure game where you have to go gather resources. I say typical, but it's really not, because it's just a comic book art style with flashed images of your adventure. And everything, there's no voiceover in it.
Nope.
It's so basic and bare bones of a game, and then you go out and do these turn-based battles, and that's the only real excitement of the game.
But then even after you've done, combat for several hours, you then realize that there's nothing more to it. There are 3 weapons for your characters, well, 4 including melee, and then you kind of upgrade those skill lines to unlock more abilities.
Sure.
But a lot of them are the same. It's a lot like, attack all the enemies in front of you, or attack a single enemy, or attack the enemy on the ground. So this game lacks depth, dude. That's the one thing.
It does.
But I don't want to knock on it completely, because I do find it actually kind of has this hook to it.
It was funny because I found myself all of a sudden sitting there going, I'm now hours in, and I didn't expect to be still. But at the same time, it's so empty inside this game. But the beginning of the game felt like I was almost replaying The Walking Dead.
I was thinking the exact same
I'm like,
thing.
these are fans of The Walking Dead who just kind of took a little bit of their beginning and introduced it here, and then everything went to hell, and then that's how the game starts.
So, the basic premise of the story is you're building your camp, trying to find new followers, which they say in this game, you cannot find every follower in one playthrough. It's not possible, because they kind of cuck you in the fact that they'll have, one day of having 2 options that have to be completed within the same day. So it's rescue this dude's girlfriend or go random this random survivor. So I appreciate it, but man, some of these playthroughs you can be hours and hours into it. So does it make me necessarily want to do another one to try to get those other survivors? Not so much.
And it doesn't really change the outcome of the overall story either.
No,
That's
it really
the biggest thing.
doesn't.
The Walking Dead had consequences. When you went with that survivor or this one, you kind of felt the give and take and the weight of that story being told. So when you lost one of your members, it hurts to lose that. Here, it's just generic, and I couldn't get any members.
Honestly, this is what all that happens is you basically, your one guy dies. The next morning, Trish, who's the bartender, kind of, not the leader, because you're the leader, but kind of co-leader of the settlement, she just goes there and is like, I'm really disappointed in you.
Man,
and
I got that all
that's
the time.
That's all the repercussions
She was so disappointed in me, I wasn't getting anywhere with Trish. She hated me by the time I was done.
I was because the ladies' man in that game.
I sucked. So Nate, one of the things that really excite me a lot with video games is typically the art style. So this one is that comic book feel, but I feel, again, it's just not quite polished enough. And then when you get out into the battles, you get away from this comic book art feel to an almost original when you came over to the 2D into a 3D form.
Yeah, the graphics aren't that great. And kind of like we mentioned, there's not a lot of difference in variety. You have 3 or 4 biomes and then day and night cycles of them, and then only, a handful of different zombies and punks that you kill that all look the same. So it's just
rinse and repeat.
Very much a rinse and repeat game.
The entire game was a rinse and repeat for me, from the enemies to the players to the story to the mechanics of the game. It was just rinse, repeat. Do it again. Go back. Gather more stuff. They find out you're in the same position over and over again, and it just wasn't enough for this kind of game for me at all.
Yeah.
Nate, you and I survived the dead age. What are you scoring this?
Man, I kind of like this game, but it lacks depth. There's too much rinse and repeat, and you know, for just being a pretty basic game, I'm gonna have to give this a 6.
Well, to be honest, you're a little higher than me because I kind of appreciate these games as well, but this one just was so empty, and just that repetitiveness of everything. I'm there with a 4.5.
Dead Age is kind of a bland survival story, turn-based RPG that does a few things right. The lack of depth hinders the game, but with a decent soundtrack complementing fun decisions to make, there is an addicting game here.
Guys, we had some interesting news. Each and every year, E3 seems to be turning a little bit different direction-wise and losing more and more people. And just recently, Jeff Keighley came out to announce that he will not be at E3 for the first time ever.
If he's not there, then who is there?
That's the thing, man. This guy's been doing this for 25 years, man. He's kind of like the face of E3 and a lot of these kinds of events.
Absolutely. Jeff is huge in our industry. He's an icon that we all kind of look up to, and then you see another face go away from E3. It kind of makes you wonder, what is E3 all about now? And I think it's kind of the rise of the indies, a rise of smaller studios who need to kind of get on stage. Because you see, Sony's not there. Nintendo is kind of there.
Yeah.
Microsoft
EA's doing their own thing now.
EA's out doing their own thing. Bethesda does their own press conference. Ubisoft has their press conference. And Xbox, Microsoft is there, but they're not involved with E3. They're actually out in their own Microsoft place doing their own thing. So it's a weird mix of where I don't know what E3 future kind of looks like, to be honest. I'm a little nervous and concerned because every year when E3 comes around, man, it's like Christmas for us gamers, right?
Yeah.
It is that heaven time to go and look, okay, let's see what we're kind of getting into for the next year and so on in the future, and new consoles, and who knows what else is coming, right?
But, well, there's indie stuff, but for me, it was always, what is the biggest AAA release?
Yeah,
Are they going to show us anything about Halo?
That's when you hear the big anthem, you know, like back then when it's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, you just see this trailer,
Holy.
and then you find out about these games that have been covered under the dust for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know, I love E3, so I'm really curious to know what they're gonna do with E3 now, moving forward. Like, why is it over the last few years that it is decaying? Why, like?
Because bigger companies want to hold that message longer. Before, it would be such a structure of Microsoft, and then Ubisoft, and then so-and-so, and then so-and-so, and then Sony would end it. So by the time you get through that entire day of press conferences, everybody owns the message for a certain period of time, and then Sony would own it at the end of the day. Now, Sony not there, don't have a message, but then they come before they drop a little teaser before E3. And then E3 is over, and then they drop the bomb. Boom, here's the PS5. Now they own all this industry for that word, right?
Well,
that
what
volume
really
of
PlayStation's
content.
doing is they're just waiting until Xbox announces their stuff, and then they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna make it a little better.
Just to get the last word.
Just like, oh, and by the way, we're this much better.
Well, maybe, yeah.
I'm kidding.
They have a history of one-upping each other
Yeah.
at an event like E3. It's a big worldwide thing, and it's kind of weird to see it not be
It's-
the fighting ground now.
I'm pretty devastated, man.
That was where you saw the battles back and forth, right? You saw Microsoft announce their Xbox Series X and all that stuff is going to be coming right now. But even when they announced the new Xbox, it was, okay, here's Don Maverick announcing all the new Xbox stuff. And then you can't share your Xbox console games and this, that, and the other. And then you see Sony going with Adam and Shu going, here, you want to play too? Here's your, and away you go, right? So you get this banter going back and forth. And now, over the years, you just see one company after another dropping off. And now we're seeing Jeff, a big host for E3, fading out. He says he's not comfortable with the direction of E3.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
It's concerning.
But he also, in a further tweet, kind of goes to say that he wants it to be more digitalized. He doesn't like the on-floor, hands-on kind of event, which for me personally, I mean, I love expos. That's what I like doing.
Sure.
I like going to these events, and E3 was the event.
It was, definitely was.
I think there is it's kind of the fault of the companies. They're making E3 worse. E3 could be amazing like it's been for the last decade.
E3,
but they're kind of like, well, we want to do our own thing now.
Sure. Well, it's changed over the years. So now that we're seeing companies drop, you see E3 them bringing in fans, right? Where E3 in the past was a media event only,
yeah.
right? So press would be there, and that'll be it. No fans, no whatever. It's a hustle and bustle as it is to get into that stuff. So now you add in the mix of other people as well. It could complicate things. Maybe some people just aren't liking how that goes right now.
Maybe it was getting commercialized. There's probably no doubt a lot of merchandise and ways to spend money at that kind of an event.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of the direction that he's talking about. I think and it mentions in the tweets the direction of the thing and digitalizing it. I think that's maybe he's just commenting on the trend in the industry.
Yeah.
Everything's
PlayStation
moving
has
that way,
their
right?
thing. Yeah, Nintendo has a Nintendo Direct now.
Sure.
They all kind of have their digital thing. So is it really just the end of an era?
You don't want to let go, but honestly, I don't see E3 lasting for too many years ahead of us, to be honest. It's going to be coming to the point where you see the state of play from PlayStation, right? You've got Inside Xbox and all these other things where everybody's able to control the message and that mind share for so long on their own that coming to E3 just isn't really all that necessary anymore.
All right, Drew, we're doing a classic, and we're going to be dancing in this one. Pata, 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 pum.
Alright, so first of all, a big shout out and thanks to Sony for sending us this code to review. We were talking about Patapon 2, a classic coming back onto the PlayStation 4. Nate, let's be honest, dude, this game really isn't for us, but people love this game.
Yeah, so you threw this one at me, and you're like, all right, this is this kind of classic PlayStation legendary title. I'm like, okay, we reviewed Medieval, and that was really cool, so let's get into this one. And hopping into this one, I've never played a game where I have to attack to a beat. So
yeah,
it's cool, I guess.
It's got its own sense of style. We'll call it that, right? It's definitely unique. I don't think this game is going to be for everybody, but the whole premise of the game is you kind of match the beat, and that's how you function your little guys, your little minions, to go around and collect other tribe mates and go out and battle other things.
Yeah, so the
weird,
basic premise of the game is you're with the Patapons, I guess they're called.
Yeah, they are.
And you are the, I guess, leader or the king, god, whatever lord you are.
Yep.
And you are trying to make it to Earth End. And the whole, I guess, story, if you'd call it, is you expanding your army of Patapons and upgrading them. And doing that while trying to make Earth End.
Well, it's trying to match the beat, which is so the edge of the screen will flash, and that's the beat. But to me,
the flashing of the screen honestly threw me off because I would try to just start the beat at any time, and then sometimes it wouldn't work because the flash is really quick. It wasn't like a 1 and a 2 and like a musical beat.
I just found the beat was just generic. I found it's the same rhythm. It's the same. Hit square 3 times, then circle, or you hit circle twice square, then back to circle,
or triangle,
square. The same, exactly. But it's always the same thing over and over and over again. So it doesn't matter that you're changing up the buttons because the beat is still the same. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Basically,
1, 2, 3, 4. I was like, really? Man, no. Like, you ever played Rock Band? Like, you're all over the place.
Yeah, with this one, basically, once you figure out the formula of the map, which is, either attack twice, protect yourself or attack twice, move forward. You just have to figure out the rhythm.
I guess so. Honestly, though, I had a decent time playing.
I did, and the songs, oh my goodness, they get engraved in your mind for life. For hours after. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, dude. 'Cause it was annoying. So the basics of building your army is you kind of have 4 slots of troops. You have your long range in the back with the bows. You got your mid range in the middle with the spears, and then your close range with the close combat.
Yep.
But they also have heroes, which you gradually collect through the game, and they kind of have unique abilities as you're playing. So it's, the whole premise is building up your army, like I said.
And it's not a short game either.
No, it's
This is
long.
Hours long. Like you're close to 35 to 40 hours by the time you finish and gather everything. Like it can go real long if you want it to.
And hearing that song for 35 hours.
Same thing over and over and over. So I found it just to be really repetitive in the end. So it kind of took my experience out of the game.
So one of my preferred things in this game is actually the RPG system that they have. So
It's a surprise, to be honest. I didn't expect that.
I know.
In this game. It was cool. I'm glad it was there.
Yeah, because each map, you're collecting resources as you go along, and with these resources, you can then create more Patapons or upgrade them.
It's kind of how you build your army as you go, right? You go out into the world and you find other survivors, but at the same time, you're able to build off of that and build a bigger army and go out and fight off like these weird dinosaurs and things like that.
That's another thing. The artwork and the art style, I did like, man. And for being like a PlayStation original remaster, PS2, whatever it was, remaster, it looked great.
Oh, it looks stunning, right? We're now on the PlayStation 4. It's not high def as far as like realism graphics. It's a unique art style within its own, but I can appreciate what it is, and I thought it made like the colors were bright, they're stunning, everything was really cool. Your Patapons are completely black, but the rest of the world is really bright and kind of pops your characters on the screen. I thought it was kind of really, actually I really liked it.
Yeah,
it kind
man.
of drew me into the game.
Totally.
Again, Patapon 2, not really our art style, our genre, our feel, our music background isn't really what we normally play, but it is nice to get into these unique experiences. What are you wrapping up this one with?
Man, so kind of like you said, man, it didn't quite strike home with me, but that's mostly because I didn't have that nostalgia feel. So I think it's fundamentally actually a really fun game. It's actually really funny. The graphics are kind of cutesy, and for being a remaster, they did a good job. So I'm gonna have to give it a 7, man.
You know what? I'm right there with you. Patapon
2.
It's a 7 from me as well.
Patapon 2 Remastered will strike home with a lot of fans of this franchise and this genre. Though Drew and I couldn't fully relate, the rhythm goes hand in hand with this goofy RPG side-scroller.
So the Call of Duty Chapter 2 update is upon us, and here's our very own Corey warming up. Check it out. I'm solo for this one, and this is not Sniper Elite, this is Zombie Army 4. So Zombie Army is a little lesser known version of the game Sniper Elite. Now they're both made by Rebellion, so they both have very similar looks, feels, and kind of just general gameplay. But you get into Zombie Army and it's obvious that this is their not serious version of the game, which is great because if you played Sniper Elite, they kind of go really hard with like a story about a character. Now, you still have that same character and some familiar ones, but in this zombie equivalent, it really kind of drops the seriousness. They give you the humor and more of a fun take on that gameplay. The premise of the Zombie Army games is that Hitler has been defeated in World War II. We're still stuck in that World War II time frame, but his last-ditch effort was to raise the dead, and he did, and he may have almost won the war because of that. Now, in Zombie Army 3, you fight all the way to Hitler, you defeat him, you send him away, but the army is still there, there's still a lot of cleaning up to do, and into this game, you find out that maybe he's not completely gone. The storyline to this game has kind of taken a backseat behind the humor and the action. The action takes you across a bunch of different locations in the post-World War II era. So you go through Venice, you go through some parts in France, you go through some parts in Germany. Some of it is very descriptive and it'll tell you the city you're going to. Other times you're just in a meat locker kind of fortification and you just have to fight your way through the zombies. The game is kind of set up in the way that Left 4 Dead is, where there's different chapters, and they are related. They do tell an overall story with the same characters, but you hit a new location with each one. It has usually 4 chapters, not always, but it'll lead you from safe room to safe room, and you end each chapter that way. Now, there is a lot of room for growth. You have levels in your character, you have levels to your weapons, you can get perks and level those up. They really went deep with the zombie killing because that's all that you're doing in this game. I'm really glad that they added depth to this game to really bring you along. The locations and the way they change and the different pieces of each location in the chapters are really good and varied, but the action is not so varied. It's a lot of go to this point, to this point, to this point, kill a lot of zombies, finish them all off in the area to open up the gate, and then move on. But that being said, it's really not dry. You can play this game completely co-op, any aspect of it. Any of these chapters you can play co-op, you can join into a horde mode and play that co-op. There's a lot of replayability to this game because as you grow your character and try out different weapons, your playstyle really does change. Some of the characters have buffs to traps, some of them have more weapon or melee damage. That's kind of the angle they go with. And then when you get the weapons, you can add perks and mods to that to shoot fire or shoot electricity weapons. Like I said, it's not very serious and this game does not take itself seriously, and I don't think I could have it any other way. Graphically speaking, this game isn't quite like the other normal huge releases. It is a full price game, and rightfully so, but the graphics just kind of look a little bit dated. Now, if you play Sniper Elite, you know that it looks good and especially good enough, but when you're moving around in all the action-packed scenes, I feel like the graphics just don't quite hold up to where we are in 2020 now. That being said though, it really doesn't bother me. This game is beautiful for it in other ways. There's a lot of different effects that happen on screen, there's a lot of different enemy types, the way they come apart in the gore in this game, and the different locations, like I said, just really make that not an issue. One part to the game that they cannot change is those sniper slow-mo kills. They're still in Zombie Army, and they're just as spectacular as they are in Sniper Elite. Now, graphically, like I said, it's a little bit toned down, but watching your bullet ricochet through like 5 or 6 or a whole crowd of zombies just kind of gives you a different appreciation for those physics that are involved. The windage really matters, and the weapon drop really does take into account. When you have different rifles and different calibers that you're shooting, you see the difference in the distance, and although you can tweak some of those guns to get an extended range, you have to kind of pick a class and play 2 at. Audio-wise, this game isn't super spectacular. There's all the zombie noises, and there's the right cues to give off what kind of zombie is coming at you, a very important hint, but aside from that, it's just a lot of moaning zombie noises. The gunfire is the same from Sniper Elite, so the job is done there, but it just didn't have any sort of really intense music to pump me up or anything that could have been added on top of this. Now, all things considered though, this game is quite a package. There's a lot to it. It's a super long game. You can play it all co-op, and the action is really fun. There's even some weird boss fights, there's even some weird weapons and melee mechanics going on, and all these different powers going off. It is quite an experience, so I have to recommend this one. My score is an 8.5. Zombie Army 4 is an awesome reiteration of the zombie horde genre. This title has just the right balance of story, action, and humor to keep you playing.
All right, Scott, how well do you like last place?
Oh.
Here we go. Time to go racing. It all comes down to this. Who will risk everything for the win?
Scott, I'm a little excited for this one. We're talking about Monster Energy Supercross 3, the official video game.
That's a big title.
I wish they'd shrink that title. This is the 3rd time around, and I am back once more. Last time Nate and I reviewed the 2nd one. I reviewed the 1st one. Back again for the 3rd, and this time I'm bringing you into the ropes. And well, buddy, how you feeling about this one?
Well, I do own a dirt bike. I am sort of a hobbyist, but this game is totally different to me.
Soul crushing, I think.
Soul crushing. I don't have any racers out on the trail when I'm out there, and that's probably for good measure because I'd be dead last.
Whoa, that's all that you are in this game. I went from 1st to a slight fumble, put me to 4th, and from there I hit one of the bales, and then next thing I'm in last. It was just like that, and you were done. You go off the track, you have 5 seconds. No, you don't.
No.
It says you have 5 seconds, but you have 2 seconds, and then it throws you right back on the track.
Yeah, you have,
and then you lose all that time.
You have 2 seconds if you're lucky enough to actually land your 2 wheels on the ground again. Because if you start to deviate in any kind of way, your guy just lets go.
Which is just mind-blowing. I don't understand. So, last year's game, Supercross 2, was really good. They introduced this compound, and the compound is back, and you're able to edit tracks. Now, to take note also, we're playing on the Stadia.
Yes.
So let's talk about, we'll get to this, we'll get to that after. But, so the compound is back, everything's back from building your own courses again, so the fundamentals from 2 have been brought over to 3, but the difficulty spike for me, going from 2, where I'm level 45 at this point for 2, I know this game by like the back of my hand. I love 2. To finish in the top 5 is very common.
Yeah.
To go here, and I am in like dead last the entire time, it's just, I don't understand how they go from one difficulty right into the next. And you can go in and change all those But it doesn't matter. I got it on easy, dude, and I'm still getting hammered. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
They have the controller tweaks to kind of maybe tailor it a little bit to some maneuvers and stuff. It's a very complicated control scheme. For those who don't know, you have a lot of weighting controls with one stick and a lot of handlebar manipulation with the other stick. It is a very heavy sim game.
That's awesome,
and I could definitely appreciate the sim aspect to this for all the motor bros out there that are ripping their motocross bikes. I know they want that level of detail because the sport is that competitive. But for somebody who's just on the hobbyist side, has a little bit of experience, I still am just lost. None of my dirt biking has transferred into these controls, and these controls have just transferred into the wall 100 times. I can't. It's so hard to stay on track, and there's a lot of other issues that kind of go along with that.
For me, it's just the little mishaps in the game. So I went to realistic. You can go from very easy all the way up to realistic. So you can go in and change the AI difficulty. You can change your own rider experience difficulty. All those settings, and they have different, like more of a arcade feel. Or you can go realistic. And to me, I went realistic. I want the full-fledged experience.
Yeah, take the training wheels off. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more control. But
I felt it did, to be honest. For me, it gave me more control. The arcade, I couldn't control that bike if my life depended on it. So going to realistic, I have way more control over where I wanted to take the bike and bring it. Even that was a little difficult at times, but it was the AI. Like for easy, I was on easy. I didn't play in easy in 2.
Do the buttons do anything, Drew, in this game?
No, they really don't. It's all about the controls and the triggers, right?
Yeah.
That's the functionality of the game.
I found the one that did do something, and it changed my perspective, which I thought was really cool for, as a hobbyist, I could see my handlebars and stuff. It got me more...
First person, or right in the helmet.
It's about as in the helmet as I can get right now in the winter, so...
that's fair.
That was enjoyable for me, but it didn't make the game any easier to control at all.
It actually makes it worse, I find, to change that perspective out of that third-person race perspective into that first person. It's a lot harder to judge. You're trying to hit your jumps and get that flow going from tabletop to tabletop, or the dragging back on the next jump, and it's just...
But bumping and
oh man, going through the whoops.
Yeah.
Those whoops are brutal.
It's too much for the first person for sure. It's almost too much in third person. And kind of speaking of that and the Stadia issues we had, I had a lot of problems with the control specifically for Stadia. Now, my controls they felt okay, like controller-wise. The hardware, I still stand behind that hardware. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I don't like the PlayStation parts of it, but that's fine. The game itself, though, on Stadia, I was getting a lot of lag. But it wasn't necessarily lag in the normal presentation. It would skip me ahead, and I could kind of see what was going on, but then it was like it would update me with what actually happened.
Really?
So I was I would continue on as if I was driving in a certain direction, and then it would skip around all weird, and I was actually on the ground, and then it put me in a different spot. So like I was disconnecting out of the game and then coming back in.
Where I had none of that whatsoever. I went from my TV to my laptop to my phone. Not a single issue whatsoever. Everything ran for me perfectly. It's just getting back to that difficulty.
Yeah.
Now I did check out, because there is, back again, multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
However, I don't think anybody else on Stadia has this game because there is no lobby to be found whatsoever. There's nobody there.
Stadia is going to be difficult to get a good test of that because it's just unfortunately not the environment.
I wasn't really looking for much to get out of that for the multiplayer side. I really wanted just so I can go out and race. I'm a big Chad Reed fan, so I follow him a lot. So to be able to play as Chad Reed, again, one of my kind of perks of being a Supercross fan and having him in the game is be able to do that. So if you have your hero, man, all the stars are there. So that's really cool to have that aspect. Well, but it's on every other console as well.
And the fact that you can add your character to these heroes. You can make a custom character, sort of. You can change the names.
That is awful.
And yeah, the jerseys. So I like that they kind of added some details, but they didn't really flesh it out. Like you can change the fonts for your jerseys, but you can't really change the jerseys that much or really add your own kind of thing to it.
Or your character, though. Let's talk about your character. So you all know that I love to spend hours detailing my character to the ninth degree, whatever
Oh, yeah.
I can do, right? My character is some generic dude in the game that I had picked, like, there's like 6 or 7 heads or something to pick from, and that was it, and that's what I was stuck with. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
all
this is
you
not
get.
even close to what I look like. I'm like, this is awful, and I was not happy.
Now you are going to have a helmet on, but at the
don't
same
care.
point, there's a dirt bike that you should be able to customize. You can customize it, but you get into that and it's so detailed in a weird way because there's things that you can do, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot you can do to your bike.
Yeah,
You just kind of shrink and move certain decals around, but the system for it for the customization was just so
Weak.
weak and complicated to get into. So I didn't even want to get into it that
That
much.
was unfortunate. Honestly, I feel like this is a bit of a step back from Supercross 2. Honestly, if you have Supercross 2 and you were thinking about 3, stick with 2. Way better.
Stadiums in the world. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. I'm Ralph Shaheen. Joining me
Scott, so Supercross 3, I'm not good at doing the full title, man. But after rubbing your face through the dirt, what do you think about this one, buddy?
Well, I got a big mouthful of dirt with this one. It's rough. I want to enjoy it for the depth and the sim aspects of it,
Sure.
because I know it's for somebody. So I don't want to knock this game entirely, but those controls, man, and that customization just isn't there. And the issues I was having with Stadia just kind of really ruined that experience for me. I have to give this a 4 out of 10.
Ooh, man, I'm a little bit higher because I appreciate the game with its aspects, and it does have depth if you can get into it, but it's beating that difficulty spike that I just don't understand coming from 2 into 3. And the lack of customization and my own ability to make my character look like myself is really frustrating. Honestly, I'm just there with a 5.
ready for the call of Monster Energy, AMA Supercross, and FIM World.
Supercross is back and more difficult than ever. The AI difficulty spike and tight track location can be more punishing than what we can handle.
YouTube Gaming's on the rise with their newest purchase of Activision's Call of Duty, Hearthstone, and Overwatch. Check out what we think.
There, keep going. Enemy UAV overhead.
All right, guys, we have some big news right now in the industry, talking with Twitch and YouTube, as they seem to be battling it out for the next streaming service all-around platform. And they just landed a major deal over at YouTube with Activision taking over the Call of Duty, their Overwatch League, as well as Hearthstone. Like, that's a huge take now. That will be exclusive over on the YouTube platform for the next couple years, I'm assuming.
Man.
Not too many details have been really kind of dove into as far as what's going on. But previously, Twitch had the Overwatch League for the last 2 years, and that was assumed to be around $90 million.
That's got to be a huge event, yeah.
So now that YouTube's got it, they've all three, not just one, they have all 3. YouTube definitely making some moves, but my biggest concern is what's going on with Twitch.
Yeah, like there's a lot of streamers that have been kind of switching, and now like this really big move. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I don't know. I haven't really been a huge fan of Twitch. I do like it,
Yep.
but you know, just compared to some of the other services, I haven't been as much of a fan. So I don't know. I think these other services are kind of realizing that, you know, Twitch isn't the best thing that's out there, unfortunately, and you know, they're kind of gonna capitalize on it.
Maybe, right? I think Twitch was the main platform that people recognized
years.
because they were the only one out there. But now you have YouTube, you have Facebook, you have Mixer.
Well, Twitch kind of created these stars and kind of took the world by surprise with people like Ninja popping up and Shroud and all
Sure.
these big names that you'd game with all the time, but they're not keeping them anymore, and it's starting this whole spell of everything's got to be exclusive now. So that's kind of how Twitch has responded is, well, if Ninja wants to leave, we'll sign a couple others that we know will want to stay, and we'll hold on to that. But the problem is now YouTube and Facebook Gaming, they're doing the same thing now too, where they're signing exclusivity deals, and now they're taking the whole cake.
Well, yeah, they didn't go just for like a little piece, right? They took all of it.
They got their hands at 3 pies,
Oh my
man.
goodness. What a deal they signed with them. So Activision, the other company that loves money, so why not, right? If they're going to take it for how many years and who knows what kind of cash. That what a get for YouTube, because now the only place you can watch these esports events is on YouTube, and it just drives more traffic to that platform.
An already giant platform too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's great, man. Honestly, now that Twitch is kind of, being put on their toes a little bit,
Yeah.
this could really increase their service and the overall service of everyone. YouTube gaming, Mixer, all this. I think this is overall good, honestly.
They definitely have to change up what they're doing because it's not clear if it's just a trend or if it's something that Twitch has kind of mismanaged to get this turn of events. All these people leaving, some of the backstory behind the people leaving were to do with brands kind of being stifled and Twitch kind of holding the control maybe a little bit too much in some areas and not others, and it kind of drove people off the platform. It's just kind of weird to see what they're going to do to kind of reverse that.
It's funny to see the rise of streaming come in such a strong predominance within the industry now. Before, it used to be just the battle of the consoles. But now it's not so much just the consoles, it's now consoles and streaming platform. You see Microsoft adding streaming to their system with Mixer. You see PlayStation integrating Twitch into their platform. And then
Facebook gaming is getting large as well, yep.
Right? So everybody wants this piece of the pie, and where does it kind of balance itself out? A lot of moves being made with Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and all the streaming platforms all combined. How do you feel about the future of Twitch? We'd like to hear what you thought over at InsideTheGame.ca. Well, Nate, that was an exciting Patapon 2 episode. A little throwback there. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca, where there we feature a highlighted clip to end off our show. Who do we have?
Oh man, this week we got When Werewolves with a hilarious clip playing with me actually on Vermintide 2.
Nice. Let's check it out. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next week inside the game.
I'm in trouble here.
And One Eye's in trouble again.
Come on! Drag me up from here! Need a hand here. Pull me up.